A woman walks through Barcelona in rags, begging at monasteries. She looks helpless. But this beggar is hiding the darkest secret in Spanish history. One person terrorized an entire city for 20 years. Barcelona's elite helped her do it. And the real story was covered up to protect the rich and powerful. This is Enriqueta Martí, the Vampire of Barcelona. You've never heard anything like this before. Barcelona in 1912 was a city of extreme contrasts. The wealthy lived in luxury, while the poor struggled to survive in terrible conditions. Children disappeared regularly from the streets. Nobody cared because these children came from families with no voice and no power to fight back. Police barely investigated these cases. Newspapers barely reported them. The vulnerable simply vanished without a trace. Then something changed. In February 1912, a little girl named Teresita Guitart disappeared. Unlike other victims, Teresita came from a modest but respected family. Her disappearance caused citywide panic. The search lasted 2 long weeks. Then a suspicious neighbor noticed something strange. A little girl with cropped hair looking out from a basement window. A girl who wasn't supposed to be there. Police raided the apartment at 29 Caraponent on February 27, 1912. Inside, they found Teresita alive. They also found another girl called Angelita who didn't know her real name. But that was just the beginning. What police discovered next would shock the world. 30 human bones scattered throughout the apartment. Blood-soaked clothing stuffed in sacks. Jars filled with preserved body parts. Books of recipes written in elegant handwriting describing how to make potions from children. The woman behind it all was Enriqueta Martí. Born in 1868, she moved to Barcelona as a young woman and worked as a maid and nanny. She married painter Juan Pujaló in 1895, but their marriage quickly failed. He said she lived a double life with a strange, unpredictable character. He had no idea how right he was. Enriqueta was building an empire of horror that would last 2 decades. Enriqueta lived 2 completely different lives. During the day, she dressed in rags and walked through Barcelona's poorest neighborhoods. She joined bread lines at monasteries looking for abandoned children. She acted helpless and kind. Parents and children trusted her completely. Big mistake. At night, everything changed dramatically. Enriqueta transformed herself entirely. She wore expensive clothes and fine jewelry. She attended El Liceo, Barcelona's famous opera house. She went to Casino de la Arabasada, where the wealthy gathered. She rubbed shoulders with doctors, politicians, businessmen, and bankers. She looked like she belonged with the elite. And she did, because she was providing something they wanted. Something horrible. Enriqueta ran a brothel specializing in children. Wealthy clients paid premium prices. But that wasn't her only business. She positioned herself as a witch doctor who could cure diseases. Tuberculosis was the most feared illness of the time. There was no cure available. People were desperate. Enriqueta had a solution. She told wealthy clients she could make creams and potions to cure tuberculosis. She claimed her elixirs would stop aging and prolong life. The ingredients? Blood, fat, bones, and hair of children. She was allegedly ending the lives of kidnapped children and using their body parts for these remedies. The wealthy paid enormous sums. They believed in them. Or maybe they just didn't care. This went on for decades. Enriqueta was arrested in 1909 during Tragic Week. Police found her with a young man from a wealthy family. They accused her of running a brothel with children. But she was never tried. Thanks to connections with Barcelona's high society, the charges disappeared completely. She walked free and continued for 3 more years. The system protected her because exposing her would expose her clients. When police searched thoroughly, they found things that still haunt investigators. Teresita and Angelita told what they'd seen. Enriqueta grabbed Teresita on the street, covered her head with black cloth, and dragged her to the apartment. She cut her hair and changed her name to Felicidad. She told the child she had no parents and had to call Enriqueta Mama. The girls were fed only potatoes and stale bread. They couldn't go near windows or enter certain rooms. But one day when Enriqueta left, they explored. What they found was a nightmare. A sack filled with bloody children's clothing. A boning knife covered in dried blood. Angelita's testimony was even worse. She said before Teresita arrived, there had been a 5-year-old boy named Pepito. Angelita secretly watched Enriqueta end his life on the kitchen table. The trauma is unthinkable. But their testimony helped police understand the depth of this horror. The second search revealed everything. Police found 50 jars, pitchers, and bowls with preserved human remains. Greasy fat, coagulated blood, children's hair, skeletal hands, powdered bones, pots with finished products ready to sell. One room was beautifully decorated with nice clothes for children, probably where she dressed them for clients. The rest smelled terrible. Police searched 3 more properties where Enriqueta had lived. All had false walls hiding human remains. In one garden, they found a 3-year-old skull plus bones from children aged 3, 6, and 8. Forensic experts determined evidence pointed to at least 12 different children. But Enriqueta had been active for 20 years. The real number could be much higher. Most victims came from families too poor to report missing children. When police searched Enriqueta's apartment, they found something that changed everything. An ancient book with parchment covers, a notebook with elegant handwriting describing potion recipes, letters in coded language, and most importantly, a list of names, important names, wealthy names, powerful figures in Barcelona. The public immediately believed this was a client list. Everyone who used Enriqueta's services, everyone who paid for access to children or bought potions made from their remains. Rumors spread like wildfire. Doctors, politicians, businessmen, bankers, Barcelona's elite. People connected the dots. That's why Enriqueta was never prosecuted in 1909. That's why she operated freely for so long. She had protection from the top. The authorities panicked. They feared riots. Barcelona had just experienced tragic week in 1909, violent civil unrest. They didn't want that again. So they controlled the narrative. They published articles claiming the list was just names of people Enriqueta begged from. They said these wealthy people were victims tricked by her lies. Nobody believed it. The public knew something bigger was being covered up. What happened to that list? It mysteriously disappeared. Some say it was destroyed to protect wealthy clients. Some say it's hidden in inaccessible archives. To this day, nobody knows what was on it or what happened to it. But its quick vanishing tells you everything. Someone powerful wanted it gone. Someone had something to hide, and they had power to make evidence disappear. This raises a question. Was Enriqueta really the monster everyone said? Or was she a convenient scapegoat? Modern historians question the official story. Enriqueta was never formally charged with ending someone's life. No intact bodies were found in her apartment. Some bones were from animals, not children. The blood may have been her own because she was dying of uterine cancer and bled heavily. Enriqueta was imprisoned in Reina Amalia jail to await trial. The public was furious. They wanted her executed by garrote, the Spanish method at the time. But Enriqueta tried ending her own life by slashing her wrist with a wooden knife. Prison authorities stopped her and told the press they had taken measures to prevent another attempt. The people wanted her to stand trial, but that trial never happened. On May 12, 1913, just over a year after arrest, Enriqueta died in prison. The official story says fellow inmates attacked and ended her in the prison yard. Some believe those inmates were paid by wealthy clients to silence her before she could name them in court. Others point to her death certificate, listing uterine cancer as the cause. Was she lynched or did she die of illness? We may never know. She was buried secretly in a common grave at Montjuic Cemetery. No funeral, no ceremony. Authorities wanted her forgotten quickly, but the story didn't die with her. The case of the Vampire of Barcelona has haunted the city for over a century. Books have been written, movies made, researchers continue investigating. The debate rages on. Was Enriqueta Martí really a serial killer who ended the lives of dozens of children and sold their remains to the wealthy? Or was she a mentally ill woman used as a scapegoat to cover up massive child exploitation by Barcelona's elite? The truth probably lies somewhere between. She definitely kidnapped children. She definitely had connections to wealthy clients. But the extent of her crimes and the role of powerful clients remains one of history's darkest mysteries. What we know is this: children disappeared from Barcelona's streets for decades. Police didn't investigate when those children came from poor families. A list of wealthy names was found, then vanished. Evidence was controlled and potentially destroyed. A woman who could have exposed Barcelona's most powerful people died before testifying. The system failed those children. Real criminals may have gotten away. That's the legacy of the Vampire of Barcelona. Not just one woman's crimes, but a city's willingness to look away when victims were too poor to matter and criminals too rich to touch. Image generations.